The pandemic sent so many of your insurance agency employees working remote. And to this day, some of you still have remote workers. We all thought about it. How do I keep them productive? How do I know that those remote workers are being productive and being efficient? Well, today you're going to get some tools and tips from Nate Ginter, our CTO, on exactly that.
So when an agency owner is concerned about remote work, there's usually a couple of different areas that falls into. So there's productivity. How can I make sure my people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, outside of obvious, workflow product? How is my team going to be able to collaborate together, which is the second piece? And, how are we going to maintain that kind of presence that, it's never going to be exactly the same as in the office, but how do we maintain some of that team feel and momentum? And then also, security. What's my functionality like, and how secure can I keep that? So, the first part is, as far as employee productivity, that's an easy one. There's a number, if you have good metrics for the amount of work that your employees should be doing, you'll typically find that, it'll be pretty glaring one way or another. But if you have particular employees that you think may be problematic, there are very simple things that can be done. There's a great monitoring platform called TerraMind that we recommend. They're not like an official partner of ours. We get new kickbacks. It's just, they're the easiest one out there. It's all web-based. You put an agent on their machine, and then literally you can have exact, like a YouTube video playback of what they've been doing all day. You can get reports on how long they've been idle, things like that. So from a productivity standpoint, a product like that is something that makes that monitoring process very simple. The second piece, as far as, collaboration, how we're going to keep that team culture together, communication being number one, a platform like Microsoft Teams, even doing, Zoom calls if you don't have that platform available to you, scheduling regular office meetings or individual teams, just getting together, even if it's for, something simple like, we're going to have a 5:30, cocktail hour for a half hour, just everybody, just sitting, shoot the junk together and have a good time, a little something to make that happen. We've done a number of them. We did a poker night, which was a lot of fun, in the height of the pandemic there, little things like that to just try to keep the flow together. I know some companies have been playing like an online game called Among Us together. Just we weird little things that, might not be a part of your daily workflow, but that you can just do to kind of keep that team atmosphere together, which are just absolutely great. And then I find that, honestly, direct management contact is a big part of that. For the direct reports that I have, I like to try to make sure at least once a week at a minimum, I'm having a video call with them and, saying, hey, how are things going? If usually I'll use some issue that we're working on as an impetus to do so, and just, kind of give them a little check-in, let everybody know they're not out there alone. There's a lot of concerns with the sort of the psychology of remote work. Not everything's always about productivity. Some of it's about, just general mental well-being and wellness, which is important in the remote work scenario. So in the security side of things, this is where, the platforms that you've chosen to work with, your agency management systems, how you do collaboration, file sharing, how resource access for your company works, the type of email platform that you're on, that's where it really comes into play. So I can't tell you how everybody does it, but I can tell you what the ideal platform looks like. It's something lightweight where, anybody from pretty much any laptop is able to dial into the resources. We'll use agency management as an example of that. So, Vertafore and Hawksoft have these models where you can actually use a web browser to remotely access those systems. You get a challenge code for what they call multi-factor authentication. So it's not just depending on somebody knowing a username and password, because anybody might be able to figure that out, but it's going to send a challenge code to an email or to ideally a cell phone, via SMS, text, or there's certain apps that do authentication for that, so that you have that second piece of presence that's very important, especially in a remote work environment, and they're able to get in and then access those resources. Another way people accomplish that in some scenarios is through what they call VPN technology. So they're remoting in basically your connection is being securely tunneled into another location, whether it's your office environment or it's, a different platform provider for agency management. And that's okay too. I actually prefer, I'd rather have, if you give me the choice between VPN or multi-factor, I'd rather have people going with multi-factor. VPN is great, but there are breaks for pretty much everyone that's out there. If you can use a combination of both, good on you. That's a little bit more rare, but that would be the ideal setup. So that's the from a technological side, that's what we like to see. From a permission side, it's also good to make sure that you're doing the standard housekeeping that any good IT program should have you doing, that you're going in, making sure old users are being disabled, that people are rotating passwords periodically, although, believe it or not, passwords are less of a thing than they used to be. There's a recent article from Microsoft that actually is called "Why Your Password is Useless." If you're depending on just a password and username, please, for the love of God, get some other control in there in place, whether it's multi-factor or some sort of encryption like a VPN, because any system that you only have to put a username and password into, that's all somebody else has to put a username and password into. And there's devices and different algorithms that can do that so many times a second now that, they're like, I think these days a 15-digit password for anything, or 15-character password, that I should say, can be cracked inside of 30 seconds in just about any system known to man. So that the multi-factor guidance, everything from the military, the federal government, to Microsoft themselves, they're all saying multi-factor is the future, at least for now anyway, until they come up with something better.